What's up, everyone? I'm your host, Jenny.
And I'm your co-host, Jessie.
You're listening to Milkshakes and Ghosts. This is a podcast where we discuss ghostly encounters and hauntings while drinking milkshakes.
We are a team when it comes to the paranormal, the mother and daughter duo of podcasting.
I can never tell what type of milkshake you're drinking since you're always using that Starbucks tumbler. What type of milkshake is that, Jessie?
Well, actually, I made myself a non-dairy Ben & Jerry's chocolate fudge brownie milkshake.
That sounds so good.
I know, because it is good. What about you? I can't tell what you're drinking since it's also in the same Starbucks tumbler.
As most of you have probably already guessed, we have collected a whole lot of Starbucks tumblers throughout the years. Those Starbucks points add up real quick.
They really do.
I'm drinking a strawberry milkshake today with whipped cream and chocolate syrup.
That sounds yummy.
It is, but yours sounds better. Do you want to trade? I know you always say no, but say yes. Do you want to trade?
Again, no.
Oh man, come on, Jessie.
It's always going to be a no.
Whatever. Today, I will be talking about the haunted tale of Nellie Butler. It is the first documented ghost story in the United States.
My story has something in common with yours.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It's also the first of its kind. It's the first schoolhouse ever made.
That sounds really interesting. I think I might know what you're talking about, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious about your story. I also want to hear about Nellie Butler. That's got to be really interesting if it's the first documented ghost story.
It is. However, the question is it real? I will let you make your own conclusions at the end of the story.
Okay, I'm excited for this one.
The haunted tale of Nellie Butler is the oldest documented ghost story in the United States, according to the Bangor Daily News. Mark Labrizzi, who is an English professor at the University of Maine, co-wrote a book called The Nellie Butler Hauntings, a documentary history, along with Dennis Boyd. I will link the book in the show notes. It's a really good read.
I was wondering why you had that book on your nightstand.
I know it's hard to tell if what I'm reading is light research or just a general interest. If I'm reading it, you know it's something weird.
Yeah, a little same with me.
Twinsy! Oh. Okay, that did not work out. What did you say? It's a good thing that we don't do a visual podcast, because if we did, we'd look really silly right now. Jessie went to go drink her smoothie, and she didn't have the lid closed all the way, and she thought she was drinking it. It was just pouring onto her lap, but she didn't even feel it.
So dirty now.
I thought you'd feel the coldness of the drink on your lap, but you were just like waiting to hear or see a ghost or something. Oh, that's funny. We've gotten way too much sugar with these milkshakes and smoothies every day. All right. Are you ready? Hold on to your seats. It's about to get spooky.
You sure about that? I think we're just going to laugh the whole time.
I'm trying not to laugh. But no more sugar for you. It was August 9th, 1799, when Abner Blasdell first heard the knocking noises in his house in Micaiahsport, Maine. And on January 2nd, 1800, both Abner and his daughter heard a woman's voice coming from the cellar. "I'm the dead wife," the voice said, "of Captain George Butler, born Nellie Hooper."
They actually heard ghost?
Well, according to the story they did, Nellie Butler became what many believe is America's first documented ghost. David Hooper, Nellie's father, lived about 5 miles from the Blasdell home, so Abner sent for him. Mr. Hooper was skeptical, but he was also curious. After walking 5 miles through a raging storm, Hooper joined Abner in the cellar. Once again, Nellie spoke, and Mr. Hooper became a believer. Soon after her father returned home, Nellie appeared visually for the first time to Abner's son Paul. Terrified, he ran home, reporting that he was walking through the fields and was chased by the apparition that floated behind him.
That's horrifying to be chased by a ghost. If that were me, I would move out and burn the house down.
I would be right behind you with our suitcases. That night, Nellie the ghost scolded Paul for not speaking to her when he saw her.
Wait a minute. You're saying he got in trouble by an actual ghost?
According to documented accounts, absolutely.
Okay, I don't believe that. That's just ridiculous.
Paul literally ghosted her. Oh, I had to. I know it's corny, but you know. By February of 1800, Nellie was becoming famous around Mastonport and the surrounding towns. People crowded into the Blastell home to see and hear her. A female witness described her appearance. At first, the apparition was a mere mass of light. Then it grew into a personal form, about as tall as myself. And the glow from the apparition had a constant, tremulous motion. At last, the personal form became shapeless, expanded every way, and then vanished in a moment. Multiple witnesses saw the apparition in the cellar.
I find it interesting that it was only in the cellar. Like, did it die there?
I thought the same thing when I first read the story. It made me question the truth to the story even more after hearing this.
Even though, to me, this could be easily faked.
I agree with you, and you'll see why. When Abner was asked why Nellie, the ghost, chose the cellar for her appearance instead of upstairs where most people could see her, Abner responded, Nellie said she didn't want to scare any more children.
That's a good excuse. I imagine a cellar is more dark and easy to fool people.
It's like you're in my head. Because, like you said, easy to fool people. That's exactly what I thought when I read this in that article.
Great minds think alike.
We do. We're definitely twinning it today. Before the end of the year, more than 100 people had seen or heard the ghost of Nellie Butler, and most had given sworn testimony to the local pastor, Reverend Cummings. The Reverend didn't believe in ghosts and didn't think his congregation should either. The Reverend took his skepticism straight to Abner's house. Suddenly, before him was a woman. He claimed there was a bright light. The woman started off small, then grew lifelike before his very eyes. It was the ghost of Nellie Butler.
Wait, so you're telling me this ghost was the size of a gnome and then grew?
I know this sounds really crazy, but yes, according to sworn testimony of Reverend Cummings.
That sounds more like an illusion, not a ghost.
I agree with you 100% on that.
Yeah, I think that it was probably just maybe like a reflection that someone was holding to make someone like do that stuff.
That sounds about right. Even though it was the 1800s, I believe, that sounds right that it could have been some kind of an illusion with a reflection. You know, not magic, not anything crazy. I really just think it was somebody pulling a really good hoax for back in those days. I think it's a hoax because, one, Abner directed everyone to the basement, and that's where it's more dark. For me, that's a big clue. The second was the changing in size. Since it was the 1800s, maybe they used lights and a mirror, like you were saying, to make it look ghostly to change in size, but I think that's very silly, and there's no accounts online or anything documented in history that ghosts go from being the size of a grasshopper to the size of a grizzly bear. To me, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, my theory is that they probably hired someone to do it, like to reflect on it to make that illusion. I also question, if they could see it and hear it, could they like touch it?
According to documented reports, no, their hands went through it.
Yeah, that's definitely an illusion.
I'm in agreement with you on that, Jesse. After Reverend Cummings witnessed the ghost of Nellie Butler grow and appear right before his eyes, he was convinced.
The Reverend should have questioned it more.
I agree with you on that one. He should have looked further into it. Apparently, Nellie Butler wasn't just a ghost making her usual haunts. It seems that Nellie Butler wanted to talk to her father and former husband because she was trying, get this, to coordinate the remarriage of George. Not only that, but she was trying to set him up with a 15-year-old girl. That girl's name was Lydia. George was 29, by the way.
A 29-year-old man chasing after a 15-year-old little girl? That's a crime.
In 2024, it is a crime. But back in the 1800s, that was the norm.
That is gross, disgusting, and horrific.
I couldn't agree with you more. George needed to go straight to jail. Straight to what? Straight to jail.
Lock him up and throw the key away.
Of course, people started thinking that Lydia might be some kind of witch or possessed since the ghost was inviting people to come down to the basement while Lydia was there. The spirit of Nellie Butler was able to eventually convince the majority of people, including family and friends, that the intended union between Lydia and George was the will of God.
Okay, so this is a lot of drama. So George's dead wife, Nellie Butler, wants George to marry Lydia, a 15-year-old girl?
Yes, that is exactly what is happening.
Okay, so actually, since you said that Lydia was always there in the basement room where like the ghost stuff was happening, I think it's Lydia who's doing it, but I'm still not sure.
That was one of my theories too. Let's continue on the story and let's see what our conclusions are after the finale. Lydia and George Butler were married May 28, 1800. But according to Abner Blastow, the very next day, Lydia and George received some anonymous news. Nellie Butler's ghost has spoken out once again. To Captain Butler, Nellie said, "Be kind to your wife, for she will not be with you long. She will have but one child and then die."
Okay, let me see if I have this right. First, the ghost wants her husband to remarry a child. Then, the ghost says his new child bride is going to die after having a baby.
That's exactly what is happening here.
This story is like the whole generation of drama.
It's quite crazy. After this happened, many people started to believe the apparition was not really Nellie Butler, but a demonic entity. Others claimed that the haunting was a trick and accused the Blastow family of deceiving George Butler into marrying Lydia.
This has to be a hoax.
The last time the ghost manifested was in August of 1800. 48 people followed the ghost from the Blastow house to a neighbor's house. The ghost wanted to show the skeptics that it wasn't confined to the basement. Once it proved its presence to the doubters, it appeared to the crowd in a field and vanished for the final time, just as mysteriously as it appeared.
Okay, this is a little bit confusing because you're saying that they had to follow the ghost and it was moving?
Yes, exactly. And at one point earlier in the story, the ghost was chasing the girl's brother at the beginning of the story. So it is very confusing that she wasn't always in the basement, but majority of the sightings, she was conjured in the basement.
Do you know if the basement had like windows?
I don't believe it did. There would be no windows. It would be just dark and damp, really.
Okay, because I was about to say maybe the person who had like the mirror was like going around the windows, like, you know, leading them. But now I'm not sure because there's no windows in the basement.
Yeah, I'm unsure on how that would work, but I still don't believe this story is real. And I know there's a lot of other people that agree with me. Now, for those of you who do believe story is 100% real, I'm not bashing on anyone for what they believe. Me personally, I just feel like the proof is not there. There needs to be more concrete proof.
Yeah, imagine if they had like a huge mirror. How would they like follow it around? If it was like a tiny mirror or like a medium-sized mirror, how would they like sneak that in?
That I'm not sure. Somebody somehow created something to make an illusion.
Okay, so like, you know how I have that mirror that you can close it and open it? Maybe they use that because when I look in the mirror, it's really close up, so it like zooms in my face. So maybe they had like that mirror that they created.
I know what you're talking about. Maybe that's a possibility. I had to think for a second. That's why I didn't respond right away. I was thinking, what are you talking about? But no, I know the mirror exactly you're talking about. It's on your desk, right?
Yes, it is.
While George Butler eventually remarried again and had 4 children, the tale of America's first haunting has lived on for over 2 centuries. So what really was it? Was it an elaborate hoax by Abner trying to get his youngest daughter married? Was it a poltergeist conjured in the imagination of Lydia that eventually became a thought form of its own? Was it really Nellie Butler trying to play matchmaker from heaven to give her widow a little peace? Or was it the devil trying to infiltrate its small town by using grief and superstition to destroy the life of a young girl by forcing her into childbirth before her body was ready? The truth is out there. However, we will really never know. Make your own theory to what you believe is real.
Okay, so first off, I have no idea who did it. I don't really know if it's a hoax or not anymore. But anyways, are you ready to hear about the oldest schoolhouse?
I'm ready. I'm so ready. I'm really excited for this because I know exactly what you're talking about.
If you've walked down St. George Street in St. Augustine, Florida, chances are you've heard the bell. This is the old schoolhouse bell in the courtyard of the oldest wooden schoolhouse. It's said to be the oldest wooden schoolhouse in the United States.
We went to visit when you were 2 years old. You probably don't remember, but it was a really good vacation.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. I actually don't remember at all.
We went and we visited the old schoolhouse. It was really, really small. I really do want to visit again now that you're older. I feel that you need that experience. It's creepy. It's really creepy.
Yeah, we should probably go there and record a YouTube video on it. And, just explore, make sure there's no ghosts there. Definitely no ghost.
I'm free 2 days from now. What are you doing?
Well, we're probably going to go soon.
Yeah, I think that we're going to go St. Augustine because you're on summer and I think we should go, 2 days from now. I think your dad is off. Everything works out. Let's go.
I hope he says yes. I'm going to force him to if he doesn't say.
He's not going to say no. We would definitely do a YouTube video. You can see if there's real ghosts out there and get some education, history that is. I think it sounds like a really fun plan. St. Augustine's beautiful. You're going to love it.
No, I will.
Jesse, do you know how old the wooden schoolhouse is?
Now, the exact date of construction is unknown, but it first appears on tax records in 1716. Let me explain the structure of the schoolhouse. That way, those of you listening can have a mental picture of how it looks. The main room on the ground floor was a classroom with the entrance directly on the street. An additional smaller room was added to serve as the family room with the back door to the kitchen, which is a detached building made of wood siding and a coquina chimney. There is a garden area behind the home used to grow vegetables, fruits, herbs, and spices. Water for cooking and drinking was pulled from the old well adjacent to the home. The schoolmaster and family lived on the second floor above the classroom, and the kitchen was located in a separate building to reduce heat and threat of fire. The building originally belonged to Juan Genopoli. Him and his wife were teachers. The classroom was one of the first in the U.S. to be co-ed, educating both boys and girls since 1788. School costs 12.5 cents per week for younger students and 25 cents per week for older students.
Imagine if private schools or colleges cost that little nowadays. That would be amazing and save us so much money.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Juan Genopoli was known for his firm-handed discipline.
This doesn't sound like a positive atmosphere for any type of child. Yeah, I'm glad things are really different now in 2024. I can't imagine any teachers disciplining students to the point where they're hitting them or punishing them so severely. if anyone is going to punish a child, it should be a parent, and it should be done positively with positive construction discipline, not beating, not yelling, not doing or anything they did back in those days, because that is known nowadays as child abuse. Anyone who does that nowadays, straight to jail.
Yeah, I think it was in the 1900s or 1800s that kids in school would get hit by a ruler if they did something bad. Do you know what time that was?
I was about around that time. They would also get hit with a paddle.
Oh, they got hit with a paddle too?
Yeah, my grandparents got hit with paddles when they were in school. That was during their time.
Yeah, I just heard about rulers. Well, in the wooden schoolhouse, there is a small room built under the stairs. It's said to be used to lock up any child who fails to do his or her study.
That's really sad. An abusive learning environment can't make a positive learning experience, like I said. And I have personally seen that little room under the stairs when we went a long time ago and you were too small to remember. I seen it. It was tragic. And they had like an animatronic in it, like a little child. It just looked like jail. It was a really small thing. You remember Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Okay, remember the room that his aunt and uncle had for him?
Yeah, it was under the stairs. They could like lock it and unlock it.
Think of that just a little bit smaller. You can't lay down, you can only stand up.
That would be really bad.
That's abuse. That's exactly my point.
The last class in the old wooden schoolhouse was held in 1864.
My only question is it haunted? That's my question.
That's always going to be a question,
Always.
isn't it?
Always.
Okay. Reports state that there have been sightings of a lone figure standing in the second-story window, a woman dressed in white with her hair pulled back into a tight bun, standing motionless as she looks out over St. George Street as if waiting patiently for someone to return. No one knows for certain who the spirit is. Some Shay?
I thought you were going to say curse word for a second. I was like, oh, Jesse. Oh, Lord.
Some say she is the wife of the original school teacher, Juan Ginapoli, standing at their bedroom window and watching out for the children like she did all those years ago. Others fear that she might be the mother of a student long past, perhaps one of the naughty children who never fully learned their lesson, left too long down that dungeon beneath the stairs, now trapped forever. Maybe she is just another one of St. Augustine's wandering spirits looking for a place to call her own. It's difficult to say, especially considering the long history of death that has hung over the ancient city.
I wonder if Ghost Adventures had an episode over there.
I'm not sure. One thing I did read online is that many sidekicks and paranormal researchers have looked into the stories and investigated the property, but so far nothing has been uncovered. All we know is that, like many other buildings in St. Augustine Historic District, the oldest wooden schoolhouse continues to be a place where the past has refused to let go.
After listening to your story, we are definitely going to St. Augustine, Florida. I can promise you that.
Good, I want to see if there's any ghosts. We're definitely going to do a YouTube video though, right?
Definitely doing a YouTube video. I know when we went the first time and you were really little, your oldest brother and I looked into where a jail was, right? They had one door locked off that tourists could not go through it, could not open it, and there was just a little tiny window. You could barely see through it. So me and your brother were looking through that window, and when we were looking and pressed up against the window, we heard a knock. Just like that, a knock. And we were not the only ones in that building to hear it. We jumped off the door, and everyone that was in the room with us, a bunch of other tourists, looked over at us in the door very concerned because they knew that something on the other side had knocked and that door was sealed off to the public.
How'd you jump off the door?
We were leaning against it with our faces like pressed on, you know? We were pressed up against it.
But I was trying to be like, how'd you jump off the door? Like, was it on the ground?
We weren't scared. Well, I wasn't scared, but it was like a startle feel because like nobody was on the other side. You could see a little bit into the room. So there was nothing or no one on the other side. And then we heard that. And it's not just the sound. We actually felt the vibration from the door as if somebody had knocked on it.
Wait, I forgot. Did you knock and then they knocked back?
No, we didn't do anything. We just were pressed up against the door trying to look into that tiny window at the top. Thank you so much for joining us. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening on. And don't forget to rate us and leave a review. If there's a story you want to hear, or if you or anyone you know have experienced any kind of activities related to ghosts, spirits, hauntings, and haunted houses, please submit it to our podcast and email milkshakesghost@gmail.com.
Don't forget to subscribe to our social channels. Our TikTok handle is @milkshakesandghost. Our Instagram and Threads handle is @milkshakesghost. Our Twitter handle is @milkshakesghost. And our YouTube handle is milkshakesghost.
I will link all the socials in the show notes. If you don't already know what the show notes are, it's in the description of this podcast, wherever you're listening.
Keep drinking milkshakes
And keep being spooky!